This may be the most important video on my channel yet. If you've noticed something has been weird lately, this will explain it all. We need to have a serious talk about virtual reality, its future, my future within it, and most importantly, your future within it. Something has been on my mind for weeks now, and I've thought about it endlessly to the point that it's affected my content and upload schedule. It's affected my own excitement for making creative videos about VR, and if you can't tell, it's even affected my tone. I almost feel that I can't move forward with my channel until this is said. So here it is. This is the state of the VR industry, an inside look that most people just don't talk about because it's uncomfortable. This is also my stance moving forward on Meta, Oculus, and Facebook, the good and the bad they're doing for VR. And this is how we can use and manipulate Meta to make them do what we want for a brighter virtual reality future. This is how we take VR back for us. This is my game plan. Let's start this conversation here, this channel. Over the past few years, I have dedicated my life to making videos about virtual reality in general. My channel isn't news, it's not reviews, it's not commentary or comedy, it's all of them, I guess. It's just a general VR channel. I do kind of all of it. It's been the craziest, most fulfilling adventure I could have ever dreamt of, and I feel lucky every single day to have a voice in the VR industry and to be able to make real change in the thing I love, and to bring VR to hundreds of thousands of people. And my favorite part is the community that's built up around this channel in VR chat and Discord and Twitch. And of course, everyone here that clicks on every single video. I love you guys. And I feel like this is one big family with one common interest, and that's an infatuation for virtual reality, just like me. But you know what? None of that means anything if I'm not real and transparent with you guys about my true thoughts on things and give you guys real updates on how things really are. There's a sort of responsibility and opportunity to do as much as I can to help lead virtual reality down a path that benefits everyone it touches. And if we're gonna get awards, I'm gonna use them to further push my voice. I either try and do something or I do nothing, and I'll try something every single time. But at the same time, I go from a video titled, "This is not our metaverse," breaking down my concerns for a Meta-controlled VR future, to just a couple weeks later, "Hey, look at Meta's new glove prototypes, they're insane." So, what is it, Thrill? Are you for Meta, or are you against it? If I dislike Meta's vision of the metaverse so much, wouldn't the best thing be to just boycott Meta or something similar? And no, I can't. It's not that simple, and it's not black and white, but there is something we can do. Let me lay down the context. I don't want to repeat myself from the metaverse video, but this needs to be stated here before I go forward. I don't have any direct bias or hatred for Meta or Facebook. I do, however, have a love and bias for VR and the VR community. I am fully aware that Meta is a corporation, and they will function like a corporation that offers products and services and answers not to the people, but to shareholders. And with that are positives and negatives. It doesn't matter if Amazon or Google or anyone else was in Meta's position right now, they would get the exact same treatment and criticisms from me in the hope that we get a more fair and competitive and open VR future. But enough with that. Let's get into the actual video. Here are the problems. The VR industry in the West is monopolized right now, at least in terms of consumer VR. Facebook has a total grip on the entire industry, from developers to hardware to the consumer base. Right now, Meta has 100% of the standalone VR market. If you have a VR headset and you don't have a PC, you have a Quest or Quest 2. There are zero competitors, there is no alternative. They also have market dominance in PC VR, with over 60% of all headsets used on Steam being Meta products. The next competitor is the Valve Index at just over 16% of users. This is not good. Total market dominance and monopolization is terrifying in any industry, but at the same time, the growth for VR is really good. Millions of people are getting into VR for the first time, and it's good VR. The Quest 2 is such a good headset for such a good price, and it does so much more than its competition, and its software catalog is more mature than any standalone store out there, that it's kind of impossible for anyone to compete, especially in the same price range. And that gets us onto the second problem, the developer snowball. Because Meta has total VR market control at the moment, they also control developers. We see this already. Exclusive after exclusive, studio after studio getting acquired. If you want to make real money as a VR developer and to feed your team and yourself or your family, your best shot is to release on the Quest Store. It has the most users and active player base hungry for games and applications. More users equals more people buying games, which which equals more games for that platform, which equals more users for that platform because there are more games. It's a snowball. And because developers' options are basically Steam and Steam VR and accept that you'll probably not make much money, PlayStation VR and accept that you'll just have to build your game for limited VR hardware, or the fruitful Quest Store. I'm not surprised that so many developers are making games exclusively for the Quest. It's their best shot at making enough money so that they can make another game and pay their people. And this further snowballs the meta monopolization and difficulty for anyone else to enter the industry. Not only can they not compete in terms of hardware cost and capability, but they don't have games or an app store to compete either. And since all of the new users are on one platform, of course developers are developing for that platform. And this is all calculated. Facebook missed the smartphone craze. They won't be missing this one. And this is why they're dumping billions and billions of dollars into the VR industry. VR will explode in popularity and they will be the leaders of the market when it does, or at least they want to be. And just being real, all the money being thrown in by Facebook over the past few years and in the future is helping the VR industry. Developers are finally making money for the first time so they can make more games and better games. VR is getting somewhat affordable and approachable. Reality Labs' innovations are crazy, but be aware, they are doing this not just to help the VR industry, but because they want to be the dominant force within it. And they want to be the dominant force and keyholder of the metaverse, as they call it. And there's the other issue of them hiring tens of thousands of talented developers that are interested in VR from across the world. They are gobbling up VR talent everywhere and holding it for themselves. But regarding us immediately, there's a bigger problem here that puts us all in a really weird position. If someone asks you or me what headset they should get as a total newbie, really the only option is a Quest 2. Over the course of months, thousands and thousands of people have asked me the same question, and here's what that usually sounds like. I don't have a lot of money, but I really want to get into VR. If I have $300, what VR should I get? Now, I am primarily an index user on a PC. I have a Quest 2 that I use on the go, but if I'm by my PC all the time, I'd rather just use my index. But am I realistically gonna tell someone totally fresh to VR that just wants a cheap taste to go drop a couple grand and build a PC and buy an index? Or am I just gonna tell them to go to Best Buy and spend $300? It would be incredibly elitist and privileged and gatekeepy of me to not recommend the best, most affordable option out there. And honestly, it would be more disingenuous and confusing to anyone if I did anything otherwise. What do I seriously say? Nah, you only have $300, just save up 7 times that amount for slightly better VR that's not meta. Or, nah, you just shouldn't get a VR headset because meta sucks. Do you see what I'm saying here? In this position, I have no other option than to say just buy a Quest, because the alternative is don't do VR, wait, or spend money you don't have. When people come to me for recommendations, they just want to get into VR. They don't care about or know about all of the baggage or potential issues. They just want a good, cheap introduction into VR. And here's where the fun begins. I want to clear this up for everybody. This is what my introduction and recommendation regarding the Quest is. It's an introduction. Most people don't care about all of the problems I just talked about yet, because they haven't been in VR and aren't in the VR community yet. You shouldn't feel bad about recommending a Quest to somebody. It's a good piece of hardware, and you'd be lying if you said anything different. It's also the cheapest gate to entering the VR community, to seeing its potential while VR is legitimately in the Wild West. The more people we have in VR now and in the VR community that understand how important this is to our future directly increases the number of voices that can help shape VR ethically for everybody now and not later, because they'll care and understand then. On top of that, right now we have seen the VR industry with 0 competitors. Google is twiddling its thumbs, Valve is resting on its laurels of the index because nobody has made anything better, Amazon is busy f***ing up Twitch and delivering packages in 2 days, and the only real competitors are in China, and the CCP isn't any better than Meta, I'll tell you that much. But VR will be undeniable for every big tech company in time once there are enough users, and we can use Meta to get there. Use them as a leapfrog to invite competition. Let them spend the billions and billions to get VR to mainstream and to do the research and to make the cool things, and we can enjoy the games and hardware while doing it, and let them pay the bill that nobody else wants to pay to make VR financially viable for developers and competition alike. And once VR hits a big enough state, we jump ship and abandon the one that got us there. Because right now, there's like 1.5 ship and maybe a couple little boats. Meta and Valve and a few others, they are all charting the oceans for everyone else to join in, and trust me, there's gonna be a lot more ships once the demand and financial risk has dissolved from the whole VR industry. But if we dedicate all of our energy to sinking the ones that we're on, we're gonna end up shooting ourselves in the foot. Instead, we pile on as many people as we can onto the ship and mutiny and hold the captain at gunpoint to steer the ship the way that we want. Why deny millions of people VR when they can help in our cause? They can be voices alongside us. Instead of boycotting, we use Meta and their investments and we try to shape the future the way that we want it, demanding open platforms and transparency and privacy and systems that benefit developers and consumers alike, rather than shackle them to closed and controlling ecosystems. Meta isn't going anywhere, whether you like it or not, so support others when we can and demand change when we can't. In fact, this is a call to action. I'm incapable of doing this. I don't have the skills to do it, but one good way to make Meta listen to us? Freaking root the Quest 2. Someone out there can do it. Doing things like this is how we get Meta to look at us. Because I stand true, this vision that we were given by Meta still isn't my metaverse, but they're going to do everything they can to make it everyone's metaverse. We need to push VR as much as possible so that more people understand and even care about the gravity of the situation. And here's where I come in. If I ever stopped covering Quest or Meta or Oculus entirely, I would be committing total and absolute platforms. As more and more Quest and Meta users get VR headsets, I would be sectioning myself off from talking to any of them or accepting them into the community or raising awareness of the issues that we have so we can make this change. I would be muting myself. And I cannot do that. Plus, Meta is doing some good things for VR, and I will talk about them, including glove prototypes or new headsets or updates. And I'll be excited about them too because it's cool VR shit and it's relevant to everyone that cares about VR or owns a Quest. And I will continue recommending Quests until there is something legitimately better, because I will always recommend the best regardless of a bias. However, I will also always make videos like this, because not everything is black and white. There's good, there's bad, and unless you zoom out to see the whole picture, how are you going to make any change? And let's be real, if people like me that talk about this stuff die out or are silenced, then we'll just be replaced by puppets that blindly push whatever is new. So at least you know where I stand and where I will stand. And for the future of VR, whether you agree with me entirely or not, I hope you can at least stand with me on the core principles that a monopoly of our virtual reality is bad. Open, preferably open source, transparent platforms that benefit everybody are good, and competition is something that we should welcome. The greatest asset we have as a community is the community. Nobody can take this away, and there's no point in being at each other's throats. We are the lifeblood of VR, the inhabitants and creators of the worlds within it. And even if you don't believe this, your voice is powerful, and our voice can change the future. Oh man, thank you for listening, everybody. I hope this cleared some stuff up, and I'm glad that I said this now so I could go back to making fun videos like tundra trackers and, catwalk stuff. But join up in my Discord if you want to keep talking about this, and whether you agree or disagree, comment down below and, I don't know, let me know. And maybe share this with your VR peeps. I think it's a decent message to be spread. Well, till the next one, much love, relax.